Saturday. It could be Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. It could be early Sunday. What's going on? Um, just chilling. See what we got real quick. Just in chill mode. Just hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's safe and sound with everything that's going on. So we just gonna be here for a little while. I'm gonna see anybody comes through. I imagine that people are enjoying themselves. So anybody comes through. So we just taking it easy. That, people are enjoying themselves. So what's happening? What's happening? Just came on just the right time. No, I didn't get a chance to do it either. I just had some situations coming, so I'm gonna listen to it. No, I didn't get a chance to. But I was coming up though. There's some situations coming, so but I will. Monday, Monday. So give me Monday. But I will for sure. Monday, Monday. Give me Monday. But I will for sure. Monday, Monday. Not playing. I had personal situations. Okay, can you let's keep it 100? Had some situations occur. I had personal situations. Okay, I got some news back home, so it came about, and it's only about music anyway. So don't trip. I got some news back home, so don't even trip. It ain't that deep. It's not like giving out a kidney or giving out a lung or something. Okay, it's just some music. It's not that deep. Or giving out a lung or something. Okay, just some music. I got some real stuff about this whole mess going on with Trump. Has impacted some people that I know. If you must know, I got some real stuff about this whole mess going on with Trump. Has impacted some people that I know. If you must know, real stuff about this whole mess going on. And I got people that I know. If you must know. I didn't really want to have to even think about it because I would much rather just have to just put the music on and just not even think about life. But life don't let you do that. Much rather just have to just put the music on. So not even think about life. Life don't let you do that. And before I know it, one day becomes the next. But no flip, no flip. And before I know it, one day no flip, the next. No flip, no flip. Just you know, no flip. Just had situations occur where I got some about somebody that I know, and they told me that what has impacted is turned into a ghost town, and it's impacted economically. So some things that just and it's impacted economically. So and I'm hoping that glad to hear that you're blessed and everything's gonna go where you is, because where I came from. Yeah, it was a woman that we used to know, and she's gone through some situations, and so she just was telling me, feeling it in that it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. You know, like I'm so glad you're okay. That the Trump situation ain't. So glad you're okay. But people be filling me in. People be filling me in. The stuff I don't even talk about that I have to like digest is real. Filling me in. The stuff I don't even talk about that I have to like digest is it's real talk. But anyway, since I got you on, that was a yeah. It's real finances and everything is economics and with the whole thing with the messing with the tariffs and everything. Because we knew this woman that was doing retail at Marshalls, and they closed the shelves are bare. So happens to live in a place that needed the Canadian dollar, and it was sad, man. I was like, wow. We spent about a couple hours just listening to it. So I was like, man, it's crazy. Yeah, best to your son. It's real out here, yo. It's real. It's real, especially if you're coming along now, because they can. They just tripping. That's what these people want, though. That's what these people want. They just tripping. That's what these people want. They wanted somebody that to scare them and be a bully and a thug, and that's what they got. So hope they happy. I want to go back to yesterday though. I appreciate you standing up for Charlene. Because that Mary chick was tripping. Um, nobody was hating on Prince. Nobody was tripping. We were just having conversation. We were just having a real conversation. But I mean, people would come on here, and I really detest that kind of behavior because it's just not healthy. You know, I really detest that and I don't understand where that comes up from. You know, but I always appreciate you from being level headed and being on one. You know, so it's you know, but we always get some people here like to troll, and I don't have time for all that mess. But we always get some people here like to troll. I don't have time for all that mess. That was very wrong, and that was loaded and racial too. And I'm not gonna stand for it. So I hope that that person doesn't come back because I'm not gonna stand for it. So that person doesn't come back. You know, we're entitled to our opinions about what we feel and say stuff, but there's a fine line. And if you notice, I don't have that kind of problem on these live streams. I don't go through all that. Don't deal with that madness. You know. But don't think that I show any bias to any artist if I'm honest, because if anything, I find balance with everybody. I don't roll with them either. However, I do welcome people to be honest about it, the signify if they that way, because if they tell me why they don't like me, then say it. But don't sugarcoat it, don't white line it. Keep it real. Keep it real. And we'll be better off. Keep it real. So that's what we gotta do. So that's all I say with that. So but anyway, in the meantime, hopefully Charlene will come back again and we'll get her back in here and everything like that. But we'll keep my eyes on everything. But anyway, fire off those questions. You know what's funny that you're the only person I ever met who said they like Jesse Johnson's "I Want My Girl" as a slow jam like that. That was a trip because that's how I know you're old school head right on point. That used to be my jam too. 40 years ago. That's crazy. Yeah, you too. You too. Because I remember buying that album. I remember reading it in Rock and Soul magazine about Prince pulled his purple limo outside of Ty Ruckett's and bought like a couple copies of it. And Jesse was one of my favorites, man. Jesse, the lampshade brother, used to wear them hats like a lampshade. Used to be down with Jesse. Liked his guitar playing, still do. I like that thing that he did at Paisley. You know, still playing. He was one of my favorite interviews too. The cat had me rolling because Prince used to do them cats dirty, man. Some funny stuff. And he had a lot to say about stuff. So yeah. So it's just all some great memories. But it's always good to have somebody who can remember, go back down memory lane. That's one thing I'm always cool about coming through. Because definitely on the music tip. I mean, you're on cat I know that I deal with who will talk about tomorrow in the scene. I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. Because that don't, again, it's an era that don't even go that route. So that don't, it's an era that don't even go that route. Yeah, that thing was, it had the review, and I really, Sonny Thompson was with him the next year. But I remember that Jesse was pulling that Prince thing and didn't pay him, and then he got on a keyboard the next year, and then he pounded on the piano, "Money, that's what I want." But Jesse pulled a lot of that Prince stuff too. I heard horror story too, so they kind of, and they had the big brother, little brother thing going. They had a strange dynamic. So Minneapolis cats be having some strange kind of dynamics anyway. Most of that stuff I be hearing is it's kind of some strange stuff. How they vibe. But yeah, he came out smoking with that first record though. I mean, I liked it. Yeah, Bobby was cool. Bobby was cool. But they had a vibe. They definitely had a vibe. That was when you talk about that. Talk about a different time when a cat would drop a record and had the hype. And that was when you talk about that. Yeah, man. Talk about a different time when a cat would drop a record and had the hype. I remember back when Free World. Yeah, yeah, that was a 12 inch because he went off. He dissed Prince. He went off. He said everything on Free World. What's up? What's up, Jay? Will? How you doing? How you doing? He went off on. That was when B sides were real. That was before. That's before Kumo D and LL Cool J. Because on Free World he lost his natural. I mean, that was a freestyle without doing a freestyle. I mean, that was cold, and no one really picked it up. The Prince Jesse Johnson beef, unless you in Purple World. And no one really picked it up. The Prince Jesse Johnson beef. Unless you in Purple World. I mean, that thing was hilarious. He went off. He said, "It's my world." Good God. And it seemed like it went on and on, but it was cold. Them lines was cold. Oh, I remember that like yesterday. That's how I know you down. Everybody knows Free World. Oh, I remember that like yesterday. What's up, Jay Will? Holla. Holla. Let me know what's on your mind. What's up, Jay Will? Holla. Holla. Let me know what's on your mind. Yeah, those were some times, man. Getting those 12-inch singles back then, there was nothing like it. Prince had them extended versions, and people was coming left and right. I bought Andre Simone's AC album back there too. Dance Electric and Lipstick Lover, Book of Love. That was a trip out song too, by the way. AC album back there too. Dance Electric and Lipstick Lover, Book of Love. That was a trip out song too. But Dance Electric, of course, the bass was prominent and it was bumping. Dance Electric, of course, the bass was prominent. Him and Prince sound so much alike sometimes on certain things that it's uncanny. Him and Prince sound so much alike sometimes on certain things that it's uncanny. 85 was quite the year. That's when the Minneapolis Genius. What's that? 95, 85, 85, 86, 85. Pepe Willie. With the blue tape. That was a trip. With the blue tape. It was a trip. I still remember the Paisley Park logo and the see-through tape. What a time. I still remember the Paisley Park logo and see-through tape. What a time. So yeah, it takes you back to that era. All right, so let's get into some conversations. Do athletes and entertainers stay around too long these days? I had an interesting conversation. Some people say yes, some people say no. Athletes and entertainers stay around. I think I think that just because we like people, we romanticize it, but it depends. I think I think that just because we like people, we romanticize it, but it depends. I like the groove on that. I like the tone on it. I bought that album too when that first came out, and I remember the innocent long version and Jelly Bean with that guitar solo. That was sick. Now they obviously was capping, get it up. Jamie Lewis learned that groove and that riff, and they used that extensively. But Alexander O'Neal with the slow cuts, but you were meant to be my lady, not my girl was my jam. That one I liked. I liked the synth groove on that one. That was my cut. That was my cut. A Broken Heart Can Mend. I used to rock that album a whole lot. I wore that tape out. That's when artists look like artists, though. He had that suit on. What's happening? That's when artists look like artists. What's up, Jay Will? Thanks for the donate. Thanks for the donate. Um, what's up, Jay Will? Thanks for the donate. Fake was sick too, because that's simple. I Well, they're not going to come up in the conversation, Jay Will. Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, John Stockton before those guys. Sorry. Those guys going to come up. Sorry. Elgin Baylor. Those guys going to come up first. You know, I can name you about before I come to those guys. You know. Oh, not getting Walter Davis is getting in the hall. They got Walter Davis going to the hall. And if I had to take out those guys, I probably would take Walter Davis. And if I had to take out those guys, I probably would take Walter Davis, Kevin Johnson, and Kemp. Because Walter Davis was a freak. Walter Davis was something else. He was something else. So but yeah. Vacation was a gut. And Satisfaction and a Cold Groove. That was probably his most straightforward record he did. Because when I bought the other two, they were on the synth, they were on that new wave tip. Even though I definitely like Kelly's Eyes and What Are We Doing Here? What Are We Doing Here fits real good what's going on today. Vacation. What Are We Doing Here fits real good what's going on today. He had a slow cut called, what was it? What was a slow cut called Green Light or Red Light? One of them. Anyway, Prince wanted that song with sickness, but Pre wouldn't give it to him. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. It was a B-side, and Prince wanted that thing bad. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. It was a B-side, and Prince wanted that thing. So I like the groove. I like the groove. He had me rolling because apparently the story was back then when Larkin Arnold, who was the president executive at Sony Music, they said Andre turned in a record that was dirty and said that he said Larkin was tripping, but he never put it out, but he turned in some record that was really that was crazy. No, I ain't see that video yet. I heard about something, but I didn't see it. No, I ain't see that video yet. But it's not surprising. Tell me all that what happened. Because I was scrolling through my one of them sites I was on. Oh wow. Wow. One of them sites I was on. Oh wow. I want to check that out then. Thanks, Jay Will. Somehow I'm not surprised though. Yeah, he had some interesting arrangements. It was something about that record he really went in on. Yeah, he had some interesting arrangements. Yeah. It was something about that record. He was a good producer, that's for sure. And a lot of people who don't want to hear it, he had a hand in Prince and stuff too. Because obviously that stuff they ended up doing for Jody Wiley. Mhm. You could tell. Yeah, I gotta get Jay Will's a top fan. I appreciate Jay Will with the donations always. Thank you. Yeah, he again, there was always some stuff in there. I appreciate Jay Will with the donations. Still a thrill. Yeah, well he did. That's the truth. That's the truth. And that's a sad part too, because sometimes I hear some of his stuff and he can play, but it just doesn't quite hit like it does for others. But he could definitely. And the funny story about him is that a lot of people thought that when he was on stage with Prince, that he was going to be the one to blow up early on. Early on. Because the cat got skills. I mean, he did write "Hasta la vista, baby" for Jody Wilder, which was a catchphrase. So, I mean, the guy knows a thing or two. I mean, he did write "Hasta la vista, baby" for Jody Wilder, which was a catchphrase. So, I mean, the guy knows a thing or two. And he's, it's just that. And he's, it's just that. Sometimes it be that way though for some acts though. You know. Sometimes it be that way though for some acts though. It's hard to be someone that does it both right, both people though. That's the thing. It's hard to be someone that does it both right, both people. That's the thing. Yeah, I did. And it sounded like it's like Dobie Gray. It's like a Dobie Gray thing. Country, right? It's like Dobie Gray. Give me the music, give me the sound. Nothing on your rub, we rock and roll, those winds away. Ooh. It's kind of got. If you put Dobie Gray with America, that's what it sounds like. But with a black voice, you hear the vocals, but it sounds very. It's like a country light feel. It sounds very. And the trip out thing, Prince didn't take Terry Casey off the background vocals, just like he didn't take him out the background vocals for Jerk Out. Terry Casey off the background vocals. You can hear him on both those songs, and both those songs were big hits. You can hear him on both those songs. That was crazy. Both those songs were big hits. That's crazy. So I hope he gets paid. I hope he got some money out of it. I doubt it though. So I hope he gets paid. I hope he got some money out of it. I doubt it. Because you know how Prince got down. They can't paying off that money. But yeah. Yeah, I heard it a long time ago, just like I heard Jerk Out a long time ago. Yeah. Yeah, I bought that when it first came out with Pepe Willie. Um, I did like that. Yeah, I bought that when it first came out. I like the groove, I like the vocals, but that was because of the tone. But that was Pepe Willie who arranged that. I like the vocals, but that was because of the tone. One Man Jam was Prince basically. And Loving Cup was a decent slow jam. One Man Jam was Prince basically. And Loving Cup was a decent slow jam. Because again, a black man doing that, you know how it goes. Brett Favre got to tell you the double standards in America. Typical. Yeah, it was a cool bass. Andre was on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a cool bass. I mean, the Minneapolis Genius thing had some good moments, but it was basically what I call lower second tier, high third tier disco jams. I mean, it was catchy for what it was, but it was a regional thing. Third tier disco jams. I mean, it wasn't bad. And because you could you could hear some things that were coming through there. You could hear some things coming through there. You could hear some things that were coming through there. And it had potential. You could hear some things coming. I thought that the girls' vocals were cool. It sounded like the time. Well, Pepe Willie is the one that got him through the door because Pepe Willie is the one that got him connected with Chris Moon. With Chris Moon. Chris Moon was the one, I would say they co-wrote Soft and Wet, and Chris Moon had the studios. And of course, as you know, Under the Cherry Moon, He alluded to him with the moon. Prince always gives you codes with codes. He alluded to him. Moon. Prince always gives you codes with codes. He's talking when he's talking, and he's saying stuff without saying it. He's talking when he's talking, and he's saying stuff without saying it. So you picked that up, but yeah, well, it was decent. Instrumental grooves. Yeah, it was decent. I mean, obviously, if you're into Prince and stuff, you like it because it's like an early recording, and it sounded cool for its time. Yeah, Prince and stuff, you like it because it's like an early recording, and it sounded cool for its time. Which I bought it. They did a cover, "Do Yourself a Favor." They did a cover, "Do Yourself a Favor," which Pepe wrote and Prince co-wrote and Jesse co-wrote. Which Pepe wrote, Prince co-wrote, Jesse co-wrote. Yeah, I did. I had demos. So how do I say this? There was this chick, I can't even think of her last name, but this was back in the 80s. Lisa somebody. And she used to send me bootleg tapes all the time. So I had concerts and the tapes and all that. Anyway, I heard all that. I heard Apollonia Six's Manic Monday and all the straining that went on with it. A Million Miles I Love You with Prince and Brenda Bennett actually just doing the version. All the straining that went on with it. A Million Miles I Love You with Prince. If everybody is healthy and motivated and in and buying, I give them a 75, 80% chance. 75, 80% chance. Yeah, I heard it all, all that, and then, I can't even think of her name now, but anyway, I used to get all this stuff. I heard it. I got a lot of access to a lot of stuff. Once I got into what initially happened is once that she used to have like I forgot it was in a magazine or something. But anyway, when I heard the Black album, yeah, and all that went down. Anyway, when I heard the Black, these people are freaky out here. Where was LeBron? These people are freaky out here. Where's LeBron at? And he pour some on his head and rub it all over. These people are freaky. Where's LeBron at? And he pour some on his head and rub it all over. I mean, he was all about a Diddy party, y'all. Where's LeBron at? And he pour some on his head. I mean, he was all about a Diddy party, y'all. He ain't gonna never let that one down. He ain't gonna never let that one down. Yeah, what do we ghosts be doing? Inhaling stuff, rubbing themselves? Yeah, right. She had that cigarette whiskey voice, which was character singing. She was like a Pat Benatar-ish. Cigarette whiskey voice, which meets Bonnie Raitt. She was like a Pat Benatar-ish. Bonnie Raitt, Bonnie Tyler meets Bonnie Raitt. If she had a little bit more. If she had something going for her where you got to push that solo, maybe try the Tina Turnerish thing. If Prince wanted to get his pimp on with that, but it didn't quite get there. But I heard a few things in there, and she's cool. There was a few things though, and she wasn't gonna go for all the lingerie and everything. She wasn't gonna be played like that. But there was definitely something there though. But she did have that cold rap if a girl answers don't hang up though, if you remember. That was her. But she did have that cold rap if a girl answers don't hang up though. Terry Lewis did the bass on that actually. Because that didn't sound like Prince at all. Terry Lewis did the bass on that. That didn't sound like Prince at all. Terry Lewis did the bass on that. That didn't sound like Prince. But anyway, she had some moments. They just couldn't sing though. That's all. It's and that's what Prince did. That show was that synth groove and that beat was still wicked. I love the chorus on that. I love the way that song hit. Cold intro, and I love the chorus near the end. I always said she should have been able to do like a Etta James thing though. She bad. So, I did a video about it. Again, if you watch my videos, I did that video a few days ago. I talked about him his 20th pitcher, only the fourth right left hander. Um, Injuries aside, and the two things that work against him, he's been hurt and his postseason has been lackluster for the most part. But regular season, he's almost as great as any pitcher I ever seen. Regular season, he's amongst one of the best. And I say that because with the watching of Greg Maddox and these guys in memory, he's a great all time pitcher. He's a Hall of Fame bound pitcher, and I think he'll, for his era and generation, top tens. Top tens. 10, 15. Mhm. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. Because there's those times when there's a lot of truth there. Because like when I seen him in the regular season, he's out there unstoppable. But come postseason, he get ate up. But the difference, though, in his defense is that it wasn't until recent that the Dodgers got more talent around him that complimented what he was doing. Who, who are Calvin? Who are these lot of people? Most people I know already know Mary Jane left them in the dust. The only thing because Prince and Vandy were a cool couple and they compliment each other, and Nasty Girl was such a bomb diggity song, but nobody I know was nobody was gonna take them over the Mary Jane girls because Prince was a better songwriter, and I'm gonna say that whether people like to admit it or not. That's what they don't want to admit. Prince, that interview that Apollonia did with Vlad TV, and she said that Rick told her to come over me because I write hit songs. There was no lies. Rick kept hit songs on people. He kept hits on folks. And for others, he really did it. I know you'll mention Sheila E. And I'll give you that in the time. But Rick hit with everybody. I mean, Rick brought people on. He hit with everybody. Rick hit with everybody. Okay, that was just a weird code. Because Val Young still gets the work today because of doing hooks and works with Rick to this day. Val Young. So we didn't. First of all, we didn't go to Van Apollonia because of their singing. In fact, when Prince, I'm sure you heard the story that when Prince worked with Mavis Staples, she said, "Look, don't make me do no Vandy Apollonia." That's what she said. That was out of her mouth. So that's one of the reasons why I don't hold him in high regard as a producer, if you must know. Yep, the long version was wicked. I said in '82, Prince did his best production, but when he started just working with anything that moved around, like I said before, with him, you can respect his talent. It was all right. It just sounded like broke soul to soul. He was trying to do jacket. I wasn't really that big on his work with Mavis. I'll give you the two songs I liked. I thought the voice was decent. And I liked Time Waits for No One because he did like a Curtis Mayfield kind of nod. Those two I liked all right. But I don't think he really add anything to her flavor. I really don't like him working with veteran artists, to be honest with you. I never really thought that he add anything. Rick did, though. Rick with the Temptations and Rick with Smokey Robinson was the fire. But I never got out of Prince working with anybody else really. I always thought it was pretty mediocrity. The people he had that he brought that worked. But I never heard him work with anybody that I thought, oh, he really added that was out. That's all. But I never heard him work with anybody that I thought because he was what we call a oneness kind of act. Talented, but it mainly worked through what he did. But it mainly worked through what he did. Because I never like felt that he he had pretty much a standard fare what he did. I think Melody Cool was decent, but more in the Prince world kind of thing. Anything outside of that, I wouldn't even pay it no mind. Anything outside of that, I wouldn't even. No, because that was Soul to Soul meets Michael Jackson, and it was like one of the first times when I listened to his music, and I thought, yeah, he been really listening to the radio. Because not only did he have him doing Michael cadences and runs, but then he had that Soul to Soul beat. I thought, wow, and it was clean and catchy. But I like Tevin better with Babyface. It was clean and catchy. But I like Tevin better with Babyface. I just thought that it was just, I thought it was a decent the vocal harmony track, but he really was trying to hit with that though. I thought it was a decent the vocal harmony track, but he really was trying to hit with that. So that was a funny song. It's funny and hilarious because I'm gonna tell you like this. He wrote that song for another dude, which tripped me out and talked about homework. And you know what? Even though we grew up on Prince like that, I never associate him as a teeny bop type of writer. So that was kind of a trip. So I'm glad he took it back for himself, especially the drums. I like the drums the best. I like that drum solo on it. Because I thought it was a bit much with Tevin. I thought it just didn't quite fit the narrative. I like what Tevin did with Babyface as far as slow cuts. Because Can We Talk still hits, and I'm Ready still hits. I thought Babyface wrote more appropriate songs for Tevin. I didn't think Prince really wrote appropriate songs for. I did like Uncle Sam, that one, but I didn't think they really were of a caliber. But I didn't think they really were a caliber. And I think that with Tevin, you got to understand the balladeer. You got to hit him the right way. And I think that with Tevin, you got to understand the balladeer. You got to hit him the right way. So I was caught off by shh. That was like, wow. He thought a lot of Tevin because he didn't even do that for Morrison. He didn't even do that for the time stuff. He didn't even do that. Mm-mm. He didn't give Good Question no song like that. He didn't even do it for the time stuff. He didn't even do that. He didn't give Good Question no song like that. Or Maserati. So the drums I liked a lot on shh. That's all. So the drums I liked a lot on shh. That's all. I like that cut a lot. Yeah, I like that groove on that one. But Mary Mac was my jam. Did you remember the bass on it? Oh, Mary Mac, Mac, Mac. Oh, dressed in black, black, black. That was that was Funky Chic back then. And Prince was a huge Babyface fan too, by the way. Like the guy was talking about the studio, he said he used to listen to Babyface a whole lot. I said, yeah, you couldn't ignore Babyface back then. And the deal, Jack Prince, and Prince came back and returned the favor. You couldn't ignore Babyface back then. And the deal, Jack Prince, and Prince came back and returned the favor. Because when they did On the Way Up for Elisa Filarello, I said, wow, he had that whole of face ride, and they had his whole ride. So the story goes, the story goes, and I don't know if you ever heard it or not. Prince hooked up. Prince hooked them up with some kind of loan or something. That's on the low though. That's on the low. Prince hooked them up with some kind of loan or something. That's on the low though. So if you ever heard the story, give me a one. If you haven't, give me a two. And I don't even think it was a loan. I think he just straight up gave him some cash. Yeah. Well, the vocals and the harmony. Yeah. That was the sound back then. And yeah. Well, the vocals and the harmony. Yeah. Because Ready for the World was the jack band. And that's how they got in the industry. And they hire bands like that are jack bands. And that's how they got in. There's a lot of that's part of what people. First of all, people always have this assumption. Let me get this thing straight. They think that people are just clone and emulate. And they get told that. That's how they get radio play. I'm not saying that there aren't people who will ultimately love so and so and so forth, but that's how you get played. You sound like somebody to get played, and then we see where you go. Because Ready for the World turned out to be a jack band. And then we see where you go. Because Ready for the World turned out to be a jack band. And they did whatever it took. And they did whatever it took. But yeah, I had the story was, and I forgot who told me because it was so almost like random, but they weren't lying. They said, yeah, he hooked up Prince and Prince hooked up Alan Bareface with some loot. But they weren't lying. And they said he kind of just did it, helping them out with their getting that thing launched. But you know, him and LA were real cool. And him and Babyface had an awkward kind of thing. It's respected though. You know, him and LA were real cool. And him and Babyface had an awkward kind of, but it was a respect though. Because every time Prince would have a house party, Babyface was there and LA always was there. So but it was a respect though. Because every time Prince would have a house party, Babyface was there and LA always was there. But anyway, that was a story that a long time ago. I forgot what year it was, but he put some coinage on them. A long time ago. I forgot what year it was, but he put some coinage on them. I forgot what year it was. He put some coinage on them. I forgot what year. They had catchy songs. They were catchy. And you know, Melvin Riley singing through his nose was predated Keith Sweat. You know, he had a moment. And you know, Melvin Riley singing through his nose was predated Keith Sweat. And who knows if he had a pen game like Keith Sweat, if Teddy Riley would have worked with him, no. And who knows if he had a pen game like Keith Sweat, if Teddy Riley would have worked with him, no. Long Time Coming was my jam though. That was my cut though. Been a long time coming. That was my cut. That was my cut. Long time. Yeah. You know. Yeah. You know. Yeah, I used to go back with those cats though. You know. Yeah, I used to go back with those cats though. Yeah, I used to. They had, and like I said before, that was a whole different era of music. Like I said before, that was a whole different era of music. And the funny thing is that the pop charts was about 3 or 4 years behind when the time they was getting on the sound. And the funny thing is that the pop charts was about 3 or 4 years behind when the time they was getting on the sound. We had moved on. 3 or 4 years behind when the time they was getting, we had moved on. Yeah. So yeah, you know, it's like I said before, when you look at some of those artists and the times, it just takes you back. Yeah, you know, it's like I said before, when you look at some of those artists and the times, it just takes you back. Yeah, you know, it's like I said before, when you look at some of those artists and the times, it just takes you back. Yeah, you know, it's like I said before, yeah, like I said, So that's what's up. See what I got. So that's what's up. I'll be on for 15 more minutes. I'll give people a chance to see if anybody's gonna come through. I'll be on for 15 more minutes. I'll give people a chance to see if anybody's gonna come through. Yeah, I will. I will. Yeah, I will. Definitely today, tonight, once I get back. Definitely today, tonight, once I get back. Okay, what we got? Just checking everything out real quick. Okay, what we got? Just checking everything out real quick. Okay, what we got? Yeah. Just checking what we got. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'll get to it. And for all I know, I probably heard it. Because Lord knows I used to listen to so many different artists. And don't be surprised if it sounds familiar. I probably heard it. Because Lord knows I used to listen to so many different artists. And don't be surprised if it sounds familiar. Lord knows I used to listen to so many different artists. Yeah. And don't be surprised if it sounds familiar. Lord knows I used to listen to so many different artists. You talking about the movie? Coolie High. Coolie High and the Blowout. You talking about the movie? Coolie High. It's not even close. Coolie High and the Blowout. And I like Car Wash. But it had a lot trying to go on. It was part musical. But there was some good acting in Car Wash. I thought Bill Duke was cool. You know, it had something going on. But there was some good acting. But Coolie High hit, like, it had something going on. But Coolie High hit. Like, had something going on. But Coolie High hit. I was like, yeah, I had to think that for a moment. Cause like, yeah. I was like, sure was. And that was like Lynette McKee and um, precursor to the Denise Matthews. That was the standard. That was the drip back then. That was the look. That was the standard. That was the drip back then. That was the look. That was the standard. That was the drip back then. That was the look. That was the standard. That was the drip back then. That was the look. That was the standard. That was the drip back then. It sure was cold. It sure was cold. Mm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it just feels just like yesterday. So yeah, I remember her very well. I remember when Frankie had jotted through all of. Yeah, this is just like yesterday. So I remember her very well. Oh, okay. I remember when Frankie had jotted through all of. Butters up on top of the ceiling. That's cool. Ain't no wrong with Goofy. Ain't no wrong with Goofy. We need that kind of laughter nowadays. Ain't no wrong with Goofy. We need that kind of laughter nowadays. No, we need that kind of laughter. We need that kind of laughter. No, I'm just chilling because I was waiting for conversation to stop. So I was just waiting on conversation, and that's why I was looking for words. That's why I put myself down. I'm not sleepy. If you keep me with words and conversations, I'm like ready to go. But if I'm just up talking to myself, I can do a stream. You keep me with words and conversations, then I will keep it going. But when people just stop and they don't interact, then I just kind of like low. So I'm awake. Hope that makes some sense. Just kind of like low. So I'm awake. I just need people to talk. Hope that makes some sense. I just need to talk, and then we talk, we flow. So I just need to talk, we talk. That's the only reason why I kind of get kind of low because no one don't talk no more in the conversation go because I don't know what happened to Jay Will, and it just get kind of like stagnant. Conversation because I don't know what happened to Jay Will, so and it just get kind of like stagnant. What happened to Jay Will? So and it just get kind of like stagnant. What happened? So, and it just get kind of so I'm just waiting on it. Ain't no wrong with that. So I'm just waiting on it. No wrong with that. Ain't no wrong with that. I am gonna be on for about 5 more minutes though, because I gotta go grocery shop. No wrong with that. So I got stuff to do. Oh, okay, she messing with your concentration. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got stuff to do. Okay, she messing with your concentration. Okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah, I got about another 7 more minutes. So. Yeah, I got about another 7 more minutes. So if you think of stuff you want to talk about, feel free. So if you think of stuff you want to talk about, I'm very much awake. I just need people to talk. That's all. That's the only thing. Because if I don't get no feedback, then it's kind of like nod back. That's the only thing. If I don't get no feedback, then it's kind of like nod back. And so that's how I'm gonna keep it 100. And because we just got through talking about ready for the world. Because we just got through talking about ready for the world. I'm taking Black Panther. They kind of two different type of films. Blade didn't have the same kind of, Wesley did good for what he did though. But Black Panther is, I did. I took Black Panther. I can choose, but I don't really like to because it's kind of unfair because not only black superheroes, but also because of the fact that it's kind of Blade was tough for what it was, but it's a different type of hit though. It's a different kind of hit though. Blade was tough for what it was. Black Panther was like a cultural event. I mean, what you're asking me is kind of like, let me think. Let me put this in perspective. It's kind of like what you're asking me is kind of like. Like, put this in perspective. It's kind of like, if I was putting, I don't know what. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like asking about Cooley High and Minister Society. Especially with the endings and everything. It's similar, but it's different. They don't care about what saved Marvel. Black Panther saved the industry. How about that? They don't care about what saved Marvel. Black Panther saved the industry. That. Because that movie was like, when you do $1 billion, I mean, that's why Ryan Klusker right now got these crazy deals because he draws crazy numbers. Ryan, I didn't say his name right, but Ryan Coogler going crazy. His that's why he can get. But Ryan Coogler going crazy. Him and Michael B. Jordan got a tag team. I understand Blade was big. I got it. Him and Michael B. Jordan got a tag team. I understand Blade was big. I got it. Blade was big. I got it. Yeah, well, that's always just the case, though. Black filmmaker, something comes along, and they never get the credit because Wesley ended up getting locked up. They never get the credit because Wesley ended up getting locked up. And did they come and get Wesley out and pay his taxes? No. And did they come and get Wesley out? Not the first time. Black film saved Hollywood back 50 years ago. That's why they call it exploitation. They tried to downplay it. It's always been black for business. That's why they call it exploitation. They tried to downplay it. But they got exploited because our black folks, Hollywood would have been in trouble. Cracks me up how they call exploitation about pimping, pushing, and dealing, but the Godfather is what they counteracted with. Think about it. Make it make sense. Pushing and dealing, but the Godfather is what they counteracted with. It's Corleone. Corleone. So Corleone. Corleone. Because I mean, they act like you don't understand the game, and then it's all tied. The sad thing about the Marvel thing is that's all they really pushing now. That and anime and the whole Matrix type of thing. Which, by the way, a black woman was behind the Matrix, and they had to pay her. And all that action and everything is black based, and it's all connected. It's just that Black Panther was like a cultural phenomenon. It's black based. It's all connected. It's just that Black Panther was like a cultural phenomenon. When you make $1 billion movie, I'm sorry, you can't really compare the two. That's no disrespect to the Blade franchise, was made a chunk of money. But when you hit the mother load like that, I mean, you're in Titanic territory for crying out loud. But when you hit the mother load like that, I mean, you're in Titanic territory. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I read a lot of different things. I get around. I might not lead on. I don't always lead it on though. Don't let me look all mellow underneath the hat fool you. Might not lead on. I don't always lead it on. Don't let me look all mellow underneath the hat fool you. I be up on stuff. And I be reading the trades in the pubs. And I know about that soul sister that did the Matrix and got hoodwinked out that. She got hoodwinked just like Eric Monte got hoodwinked out of Norman Lear with Good Times and What's Happening and all that. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Deja vu all over. All that. You live long enough, you see long enough, you feel long enough. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for real. Real talk. Real talk. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, because like all this stuff is tied together. And you can bet your bottom dollar they might act like an overnight sensation if you're black, but they've had people been doing that. They might act like an overnight sensation. But it's been going on and on. They've had people been doing it. When I do my videos, if you're watching in my videos, like I do my videos, I talk about a Keenan Ivory Wayans. I'll talk about different people. I do it from a historical perspective. 69. Almost 70. 69. Almost 70. Like real late December. It's just that growing up, um, we just had you just had stuff that was put in perspective. That's all. We used to just like go find stuff, read stuff. Yeah. Whereas nowadays, and I feel bad for kids coming up today because it's like today you got access to all that Wikipedia, all that stuff, and you act dumber than dumb. It's like you supposed to be telling me stuff for tenfold and act like you know. We used to couldn't wait to show somebody what we knew. Nowadays, and turkeys act like something happened 5 years ago. It's old school. Look you know. They'll look you dead in your face and tell you Lil Nas X. It's old school. Lil Nas X. They'll look you dead in your face and tell you that. They'll look you dead in your face and tell Lil Nas X. It's old school. Lil Nas X. They'll look you dead in your face. And what's funny is I found out he get ready to get dropped by Columbia Records, his second album. I'm like, well, this turkey been running all this time with all them whack songs, and he looked like a walking Diddy party leftover. And he looked like a walking Diddy party leftover. And he had that money for Country Roads with we had Billy Ray and Chris Rock all in the video. So they spent a lot of money on. So that's a twisted, sick industry. They spent a lot of money. Yeah. That's a twisted, sick industry. But no, we had to find out. We would go microfiche, we go read books, we go read stuff. You know. No, we had to we wanted to thirst for knowledge. We appreciate it. Because you know, and so it's sad when people come out now and don't want to do that. And now they don't even want them to, it's like the dump down, don't say nothing, don't know nothing. Now they don't even want them to, and they playing right into the government's hands too. I tell people all the time, I wish if I came out today, I'd be a millionaire with all the records I used to buy, going to the record store and all that stuff. Because believe me, I'd saved a lot of money coming out today. I was addicted. And believe me, you don't have that problem today. You don't have that problem today. Believe me, you don't have that problem today. Because what they putting out, I wouldn't even, I'd stream it. They putting out, I wouldn't even, and probably would delete it. It probably would delete it. I heard something about Rope Man and Tornado Man, and I'm thinking about Rudy Ray Moore, but I gotta be off because that's the only person that comes to mind when I hear all that. I'm thinking about Rudy Ray Moore. No. Oh, that's because I got my other speaker on. That's why. Is that better? Because I had a double speaker on. That's all that is. And I hadn't decided to turn it on. So I'm sorry if that's been bugging you. Yeah, the only thing that I know about that when I hear those kind of names, I'm thinking about Rudy Ray Moore, the human tornado. Diaper Man, the only thing I know about when I hear that is Star Child from P Funk. Okay. Yeah, I turned it off. I just happen to have extra on. I was surprised because I looked on the thing with the mute. So anyway, what's on your mind, Dry Turkey, since you're wrong, DT? Speak up for now for hold your peace. I will be on for about another 15 minutes. Okay. Okay. And it may have been a regional thing too, because sometimes we didn't get those cartoons. I remember I got Shazam. What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. No, no. I'm across the pond. That's why the cat was asking me that question. I used to live in Houston a long time ago. A long time ago. Went to Dallas, ate in Austin, been through San Antonio, went to what's it, Navasota. Don't know. It's not something I really spend my time talking about. So I don't know. It's Charles is the one, but I really don't pay that no mind. It's nothing to really even waste time with. Yeah, I'd say Google it. I don't really pay it no mind. It's kind of like the White House. Who really runs that mess? That's a lot of scripts. But yeah, I used to live in Houston, and I went through Fort Worth and Missouri City. The thing, trip out thing about Texas, you can go like 80 places in about 80 minutes. It's crazy. With 20 different area codes. He don't run everything without a script though. They have a team in it though. Oh, I know about that, and it's gonna backfire too. It's gonna backfire. You're gonna see some stuff go down. You're gonna see some stuff go down. He's banking on this hit that the tariffs and all that will come back and bring a windfall of money. The problem is by the time it brings the money, people will be poor and destitute. He ain't changing nothing. He just making rich people richer. That's not something to get excited about. If you don't want me to unload, don't say nothing about Trump because I'm not going to give him no love at all. Biden came in through Trump's pandemic, okay? He had to operate because Trump left him stranded. That's why Trump lost. Okay? And neither one of them moved the needle for me, so I'm not impressed with neither one of them. Both of them suck. DeSantis needs to be canceled for other reasons because I don't know if you know about his Ponzi scheme. Him and his wife, $10 million. He's running what they tell him to run. He ain't running no thing. He's got to run through Putin and them. Shoot, it wouldn't be nothing if Elon Musk didn't put no money on him. He doing what they want him to do, but there's a system that's behind him. Yeah, and it's a travesty. You be prepared for something to go down because it's gonna go down. And like I said before, he's running the place as revenge, calculated moves, which won't end well. And when he has so you already know what's gonna happen with next year's midterms. We already know. Those seats are gonna get flipped, and he's just running reckless as he can. So it's a bad look. I wouldn't want to be nowhere near that mess. DC's crazy. And that's what people want. It's always been the case with him. Because as a businessman, he bankrupt many times. But see, he talks the talk that people like, that kind of, he talks the talk that they like. It's got nothing to do with his credentials. You know, it's a shame. I can't believe how people, well, I can, because Rocky and Schwarzenegger and all that, that's the kind of, that's their logic. How about the insurrection? Because if you're trying to talk like a pro Trump, uh, what about the insurrection? He started an insurrection on federal property. I have relatives, the military based people. He broke the law. He set up the vice president for a situation. So you're not going to win no points trying to come at me trying to talk that mess. Well, I'm just bringing it back to you. Charlottesville, West Virginia, that whole thing. He said, we have both people, good people on both sides. He has sat there and dignified and justified stuff that's been going on, act like he don't see it. Yeah, I know. I'm just making a point. There's nothing that anyone can say that would me justify anything that man has ever done. Nothing. Nothing. Morally bankrupt. And again, growing up as a kid back in the day, and Kelvin, I know I'm coming out with this one. The Central Park Five. I'll never get him over that. Mm-mm. Him and Rudy Giuliani. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You know. But see, what people get this thing that somehow he's always been what he's been. He pimped a lot of people because he got in Hollywood, and he got himself as a mogul, and he crossed over, and then he became into politics, and he learned a lot on the job. He learned from the Clintons. He learned from a lot of people, and he just went into a power trip. That's what's up. So I think that the protests are going to be happening even more. But again, people got to know what they're dealing with. So some people just wanted someone that could talk tough. He sure won't. He sure won't. And neither did Rudy G. Mm-mm. And I'm just always amazed that, but I'm never shocked or surprised. People just, you know, because they would rather, be with someone who's is incompetent and also despiteful and brings that kind of tension because he was messing with black people that were affluent. You gotta remember when he was sponsoring people into his plazas and stuff, they were affluent. And he used that. And that's how it usually is. It's like Jim Jones did with the Kool-Aid. You give someone something that they like, then you go boom. Pillow guy went bankrupt. He can't get no credibility. Rudy had to get because Rudy sat there because of Trump. That whole women in Atlanta lied about the voters being rigged and everything. Rudy lost everything. But see, no one holds him accountable. They don't hold him accountable. So not all, not all, not all, because no one really thought of him as a politician. They thought of him as a personality who was a mogul. And when you say like he was like by entertainers and people of a certain age, no. Central Park Five, like Calvin just got through saying, I was done with that turkey almost 40 years ago. And then also on top of that, I go back even further than that. Not even about thank you, Calvin. Not even about the way him and his daddy were about renting out apartments to black folks, but the USFL football. Because he tried to go up against the NFL, he tried to muscle. He just always come across like an arrogant, smug idiot. And he always wrecked all his friendships with everybody he was cool with. He turned everybody off and he ran everybody out. And I just thought that he was corny. Just like a joke. Could you imagine seeing somebody that you grew up with or you watch from across the room and that person you thought of was, shady, you know, but they end up blowing up and you're like, how did that happen? Because that's how I look at him, you know. I was like, really? See, because if you go back in time, I caught glimpses of. I didn't waste my time watching it. What's her name? The black woman that ended up dissing him because she talked about how he turned on her too. Omarosa, yeah, Omarosa talked about it. Hmm. Hmm. That's why he got good old puppets in Herschel Walker. Good one. You know, he did, but OJ turned off from him. OJ said he's something else. OJ stopped messing with him. Tyson will always mess with cats like that because Tyson is a complicated cat because he has thoughts, but he was raised around, he didn't like he's a brother, but yet he was raised around other folks. And so he played that kind of, that's a kind of loyalty with that. And I don't look at Tyson as the deepest think on certain issues, but they were cool. And Tyson has like this old school type of loyalty to certain people. But OJ stopped messing with him a long time ago. He said it too. Trump said he didn't believe he did anything, but they cooled off because he probably felt that Trump was trying to run a hustle on him, which he do. And the guy the stuff that he does is a lot of acting, and you don't think about it. No, no. Plus, you remember the Italian boys was running him, the modern them, and they took him from the hood. I mean, I remember these guys get programmed to almost be. I don't want to say neutral, but they almost gotta like, you know, they keep a certain rawness, but a lot of it gotta be kind of not really, not really. How it's gonna hurt a brand when Trump wasn't really. How do I say this? He wasn't really seen as that kind of a mover and a shaker like that. Yeah, he's still loyal to him, but I wouldn't say that it hurt his brand. I don't think it. People. He didn't have the kind of media that you got now either. Thank you, Calvin. I can't say that because we got these censors here, but yes, 34 counts, and that is one of the things against him. And he's as we speak right now, he's trying to get that civil money expunged. He's been very disrespectful to the ladies. Oh yeah, the video says itself, and Epstein is on tape saying that they were cool. And I'm not stupid. I ain't dumb. They all connected. Because Clinton is connected to him, and Prince Andrew and all that. All that is all connection. It's a party train. You know. They just don't want to talk about it because, again, if they bring it up, then they got to be like, but it's all connected though. Hmm. Why are the questions? It's a personal situation. I would say that a change of scenery is always good for your soul. That's how I would describe it. I'd say get out and explore some of the world if you can. That's the best way I would describe it. Well, yeah. Well, and I had a lot of reasons for a lot of different things. So, yeah. I contemplated Canada actually too, and other places. Politics sucks wherever you go. There's no difference. Similar. Yeah, for a minute, because this guy keeps talking about it. Yeah. Yeah. Just been for a minute, you know. And it's kind of like one of those things that you go somewhere and you just go. And I would tell, no, I just don't like your questions. I feel like I'm getting needled. We could be talking about some other stuff, and nothing. No, I'm very happy where I'm at and content with I am. It's just that I think there's other stuff to talk about. Well, I'm a vegetarian vegan, so I don't really touch a lot. The most of the stuff. I'll say this in its defense, there's a lot of stuff that would not fly in America. I'll say that because they outlaw about 45 of the foods that are allowed in America. They're banned over. That's the difference. I think that I still function as I function. Um, you know, there are things that bop a little bit about different. It's cultural. Yeah, I don't mind if you ask me like some rant questions. It's just like I don't get into all that formal stuff. I don't do all that king queen crap. I ain't with all that. But if you ask me like the food, how the people hit, you know, depends on where you are. There are some really cool I met some people from the islands. I met some Jamaican folks that are really cool. Um, it is. I tend to stay low. You know, I don't really go out a whole. But I have encountered some cool folks. I went to a cat he from Jamaica from because the islands is incorporated and had a real good time. Had some Jamaican food and all that. And it was really cool. I met some real cool folks. But yeah, it's pretty sheltered in some ways. It depends on where you are. Depends on where you are. I don't go out a whole lot. I didn't do that when I lived back in the States, so I just kept to myself. There's some cool things. I mean, it's just like any other thing though, with the politics and different things, depends on what you into. Some things are cool, some are not. Want to get there. My cousin went there and she was ecstatic. So that's how I would describe it. Politics is politics, y'all. Depends on how you carry yourself. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Again, no matter where you go. Okay. No matter where you go, you gotta deal with stuff, so just how it go. You gotta keep your cool. That's all. I mean, again, there's differences in conversation because there's words and tone, so that is the first thing that's obvious when you live in a place, a different country. And of course, the money's different. You learn that. You learn the customs, you learn how people are. Oh, yeah, well, is it the same in America? Come on now, where you think America got it from? Where you think the states how you think United States came to be United States? I always assume that people are more hip and intelligent about racism and institutionalized systematic, and that they wouldn't have to ask these questions based on when we talk about Trump, when we talk about Black Lives Matter and what you got to go through. I always assume that I'm guilty of assuming people's intellect to understanding that is deeper than it is because I'm guilty of thinking that people just get it and they don't, or they just naive, or they don't pretend to. Because yes, wherever you go, well, they learn from each other. But Germany's a strange place because I had a buddy of mine, he loved it there. And then I heard some others who didn't. So it depends on what you were dealing with. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you can observe by taking naps on. Well, I'll say it like this because born and bred in the States, but I will share this with you. There is British ancestry in my DNA, which is a fact because my family, well, you don't have to agree, you ask, so I tell. But my family, my family lived Virginia, Carolinas, which was colonized by England. And a lot of the family was tied to it. So I have a lot of that is part of the DNA. Well, I tell you like this. Usually people want to ask, I mean, I never get asked told and tell me they'll hear my perspective. They don't agree because that's almost like, well, I can respect your intelligence. I'm not going to understand where you're coming from. I don't understand it. Yeah, but the ironic thing about that, Calvin, is that Adolf Hitler was Jewish himself. So he was self loathing. And usually it's someone who turns on who they are. That's how that turned about. It's not about agreeing, it's about having a common respect, commonality. There's things we're gonna agree on just mentally. Yeah, it depends on if you're trying to, it depends on what the topic is. I'm not gonna be the standard of anything. I wasn't the I'm not the standard in America because America is something I had to learn to adapt to. Think about it. Just because you're born and bred and that's all that don't mean that you had to adapt to it. You're a black man in America, you have to adapt. So tell me what makes that any more different than me being in this country or any other country. Had to adapt. Because when you live in a black neighborhood and you go to a white school, you have to adapt. When you listen to conversation, the way you talk amongst your crew, you have to go. Rich, rich, of course. I wouldn't want to be white. They both talk because people assume that if you're white, you're wealthy. And that's the rules. I didn't make them up. They look at someone and they assume. Chris Rock said it best. He said, "I can be." He said, the poorest white man will still would not want to trade places with me." He knew that in 97, 98 on stage. Racism is everything, especially if you're talking about building a country. And I'll tell you like this: any country that was built off of slavery, race is all in it. You can't escape it. So we always got it. Well, I'm gonna address that real quick. That's now did he defend himself? That case was a joke. The thing about Puffy's case that never should have came to a case. He didn't merit a RICO charge. A FRICO charge, but not a RICO. And we're talking about picking up the litter off the highway or paying money. We're not talking about that, enterprise. They overcharged the man and he had enough to defend himself, which he's supposed to. That was a weak case. Even the juror said that it would sound like they were out to get him, which, you know, I say he was going down for life because he was a black man going in with what they set up. And I said that because of the industry plotted to take him down. I was coming from the black perspective, which I always do. It's a joke when it played itself out because what did they do? And you don't listen very well. And I'm getting very upset because I'm going to say this. I said this the other day. When they took four of those charges off, that changed everything. Money didn't win. The weakness of the case won because they felt like if they presented all nine of those charges to that jury, they were all going to get wiped away because the totality was about the merit of the heaviness of the severity. They charged him on the lowest amount to say something that, yeah, he was guilty of something, but not what they were trying to get. So that made the case null and void. The reason why I would go in thinking that he was done was because not only did the industry turn on him, they obviously had an open hotline to sue him, and they had built a case in the white government institute who has a 98.7% conviction rate. So a black man usually doesn't come out of there winning. So it didn't look good. Everything changed last week. Yes, I do not get charged because that would have been simply soliciting. I don't. They made an example out of him. They made an example out of him. Yeah, he guilty of something, but not what they were putting down. Kelvin is 100% correct. And R. Kelly got overcharged for RICO too. First of all, these cats is too dumb to be running a RICO. Do you know what a RICO is? When did they start having black entertainers with RICO charges? That's criminal enterprise. That means that whoever record company or whoever company they with is funneling them that money. That's what that means in English. If I get a RICO on you, that's 15 to life. Neither one of them deserved a RICO. Neither one of them. Kelly, they should have got 15, 20 years ago, and they would have gotten 10, 15 years off of him straight up. But could have been deducted. Diddy too, probably. But this is the thing. Why they wait to go after him when they get 50 some years old? I don't know. Because they got no use for him now? I don't know. So now they acting like they're coming after him. And that's as close that black people get to having as close to white world that you got money till they come after you. So people, you can't even talk because Trump is in the same boat as them, except he got the complexion for the protection. And he had $250 million and a sponsor. Diddy comes with $50 million, another million, and they won't let him out. And he didn't get to. So it's a double standard. And if you got to go to the bathroom, do what you got to do. But I'm in the middle of saying what I got to say. And Calvin Jackson brought up a very strong point. That is the reason why I thought it was lights out because they basically charged Diddy for the same thing as R. Kelly, and his looked even worse. He's got supervised probation. And in case you don't know, if he even calls or sneezes funny, they can bring those charges back. They already told him. And these cases are also pending on corporation. So there's other factors involved. I don't again, when you start charging black entertainers with RICO, you're saying that where did they get the money from? And I don't think you understand that the prison industry and the music industry, all of them are tied together. So they set them up to run the sponsors. And all these cats are all connected. They're not getting off. They're getting put on notice. And what ends up happening is they have to either be stooges, they have to actually be snitches. They're not getting off. If they were getting off, they would be able to kind of flaunt it more. I don't look at it as getting off. I think it's just setting them up on the plantation. I don't see them as getting off. I don't see that. I think it's a dangerous game. Just puts a marker on them. That's why now Diddy got those 2 felonies. So now if he even coughs or sneeze funny, they can come and snatch him for something. That's why if he gets out, he better be cool. Because Kodak Black fits a certain stereotype. And it's in the entertainment industry, which Trump works off, and that is part of the prison industrial complex. And that's why they have these entertainers who are doing mockeries of prison life, naming their record companies after the worst and of the past. It is a script that reads like a movie. These ain't by accident. None of this stuff is what I would call, by accident. These cats are falling right into a trap and they're setting others up. When you see Sexy Red, when you see Meg The Stallion, when you see Cardi B, all that stuff, it's all Cardi B did the same thing that alleged Bill Cosby did with the drinks and the hustle and jacking people was the outrage. They all connected. It's the elitists getting away with what they do. This is nothing. This is right in front of you. They're dropping their tea right in front of you. So I'm not sitting around here being like, oh, wow, this or that. I'm like, you got it happening right with your eyes open. It's just a matter of the audacity. So when Little Wayne got his little situation and he sold off the money, he made $100 million off his label. Now, uh Nicki Minaj ain't got no bag. Drake has got his own, getting his own. They got to hustle. So when they do all this stuff where they run in and out, they got them to do what they want them to do. It is all connected. The entertainment industry, the DC is all connected. It's like its own terminal. Its own underground building, just like what Hugh Hefner did, except the difference is when you're black, you get to have that kind of kink, but you don't get to. And I still don't understand it because if they're doing that, that means that there is a syndicate of the company that's flooded, is pushing it. These cats ain't making no money with no record sales or no streams because it's done on purpose. That's why. That's always been funded by an underbelly. Well, he's just doing what others have done. I mean, again, he's using his privilege and that's what government has always done. It's no different than the Kennedys or the Clintons or the Bushes or Nixon. Do you want me to keep going on? I mean, they all do it. You can't do it though, because you don't get to become president and get out. You can beat Rico, but you can't be president of the United States if you black. That's the reality. There's different levels to this. We hold you in different standards. Uh Yeah, I know you know. No, I do hold 'em accountable because I'll say this, you are accountable for what you do. I never said I condone it, but you could be like Chameleonaire who did Ride and Dirty, and they told him if he doesn't come up with some explicit lyrics, they won't put no money on his books. And you think I don't know about T.I.? You didn't even mention T.I. How he mysteriously had all those weapons and he had that federal case and he got caught puffing and he got like a month for every weapon. And then they had Atlantic Ruckus down there when he was getting sentenced. But he still got a reality show. Him and Tiny always into something. You know, and so, and ASAP Rocky, could I mention that? Because Rihanna got him out that case. And he's in a movie with Spike Lee and Denzel Washington. He's had two cases, the one over in Sweden and over here. But he's also trumped up. He knows how to smile on cue, you know. I'm not condoning people's actions by no stretch. All I said was DDD get overcharged. And it looked like they were come because when they want to bury you and you're black, they make it a point of it. They don't do that to they don't do that to white folk. Now that's a fact, whether you want to hear it or not. They don't do that to the white side. Harvey Weinstein, as bad as he is, he ain't had to have. Go for it. Go for it. And I won't hesitate. But the only problem with that is it's kind of hard to prove exactly what the end game is. But name some names and I'll tell you what I think. And I got about 10 more minutes and then go ahead. I'm ready. Now, Calvin, I know you know. It's just that it's always been the double standards though. Because people somehow act like we've been on a level playing field, which we haven't. And yeah, I'm sorry, 1964 ain't near long enough to actually talk about that you are even Steven. Calvin and myself come along and they still got Jim Crowism and they were just kind of riding it out, but it's the reality. So I am waiting for these names. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. He guilty. And he was guilty of stuff that they should have dealt with in a different capacity. He is not Rico though. He should have been looking at 12 to 15. He should have been out about 8 to 10. He got overcharged by about like 20 years. And I still say that he was trying to get his masters back. What they went after him about, they had a better chance in 2002 and 2008. This here is a bit extreme. So what they should have did, they didn't do. And I'm gonna say it, if he was white, I don't think he would have had to. I don't think he would have seen a courtroom because then look how long. I already said R. Kelly. I said guilty because I don't condone what he's done. I said guilty. You want me to turn my other microphone off? You can't hear? I said guilty. You can't hear me? I said guilty. I already said what I said about him. But I still say that this case shouldn't have been nothing, though. Back in the OOs, yes. This here was double jeopardy. And it was with grown women. And he went asking for his masters and his money, and that's when they locked him up. So they gave him 20 extra. If it was the R word, then I'd say guilty. But if he took everything else, it's not. So it's kind of like in between. But I'd say he was guilty because of the circumstances of the what he, the thing. Again, no. Why they try to make an example of him at 80? Again, they should have had a better chance. Well, he making the money. So what I'm going to keep saying is the same old thing. When you making the money and everybody's go along, get along, they don't see nothing. But the minute you start asking, how about this, or you want to get that, that's when they come after you. So two things can be true at the same time. Guilty of doing something wrong. Yeah. I'm not gonna. I'm giving you a definite the whole thing, but I'm not saying that they're not. It's just that it was a different situation. But they ended the powers that be also looked the other way because the money was good. I don't think you understand that concept. That's as close to doing your dirt until you either ask for more money or you start saying that you're gonna say something. That's when they bring out everything against you. Because it's been sitting there all along. That's how fake the system is. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Cats can be guilty, but they also in a system that is making it like they let them do what they want until they got no use for them no more. That's what's up. Okay, keep on going. Because I think that when you ask a question, I like to give a complete sentence. I don't want to just say, yeah, they get without this. However, there are other mitigating circumstances. There are other things that are involved. And we don't operate on just a yes or no. They don't. Look like the people done disappeared. So I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes because I'm waiting on some questions. Yes, I do. He stood on the man's neck for 8 minutes. And if you are doing your job, you don't come across like you running the game. Yeah, I'm still gonna be on for a few more minutes. I'm just waiting for questions to be asked. I'll be on for 10 more minutes if the questions keep coming. Yes, I do hold Derek Shaw around 100%. He had no business standing on that man's neck for 8 minutes. And he had a crew. I don't care about that. He was on that man's neck for 8 minutes. He did not laser taser him and he did not cuff him and put him away. He sat out there on the ground on top of him. And regardless of all that, George Floyd wasn't going nowhere. And he said he couldn't breathe. He had him face down. You do your job, you won't have to nothing to come look suspect. That's what made it look bad for Derek Chauvin. They don't use their tasers. They either but beat you up or they cap you, but they don't use to, get to the nitty gritty. That's how we get to brutality. He's not guilty because there was nothing criminal. he did some stuff that wasn't right, but it's hard to prove when you really don't have it concrete. And obviously, it wasn't concrete because they wouldn't have let him go and get that kind of contract he did. You do have to have contract clauses and behavior. So I lived in Texas. Yes, I am. And that was overblown, way overblown. He got overcharged and they pulled everything on him. And I've seen white actors who do far worse and they didn't get the half. That's why I was laughing when I heard Johnny Depp talk about he got canceled. I said, no, you didn't, because you're gonna get a big box office opportunity. Jonathan Majors hit, they stripped all the Marvel from him. He gonna get treated like he's a Tubi time sidekick. No, he got overcharged. And the chick lied in part two. It was overcharged. They made an example out of him. That's what I was talking about. Just like if you would ask me about Cuba Gooding Jr., they're well overblown. And some of these is overblown. He was guilty of certain things that I can't say though it was actually the whole thing though. His is a bit complicated. His is a bit complicated because it wasn't 100% proof, but his reputation predated him. So I'm gonna say not because I just don't feel that that was 100%. There was something about his that didn't quite add up. He does have, he did have this propensity, but not guilty, of course. Timeline never added up. There was no marks on his body. He came back from Chicago to LA the next day, and it was nothing. Oh, I believe that. Yeah, Mel Gibson run his mouth. No, Tyson thing was it just seemed like there was something off with it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it just didn't seem like it was 100 proof. Something seemed off because I just didn't feel that there seemed like there was something ulterior motive. There seemed like there was more going on with that didn't quite leveled up with me with that. And of course, you do nothing. I'm not like this. Tyson's a compelling figure, but I'm not that blown away by him. I don't like his politics and I don't like his agenda. But it's somebody's case that didn't quite add up. You know, some about his. But then if you're gonna say it about him, you say it about a lot of the boxers because a lot of them had some. Of course, he's guilty. Of course, he's guilty. But nobody cares though. There's no self defense when you're a grown man against a kid and you're using them. What you used. He probably was as stunned that he walked. And that is more common. So they never ever get held accountable. That's pretty common. I still think that it's too inconclusive. I'm just saying I don't really have I still don't think I don't think he's guilty. I think it was self-defense. I think he was bullied. Because I think that a kid that's a smart student like that, they're not gonna be start doing the kind of stuff unless someone provoked them. So I still think there was more to it. Yep. I only went off the rails because I defend black folk. That's all. I never go off the rails if I don't defend black folk. And you ain't really give me nothing to not argue with. Zimmerman, that was happens all the time. That's the Emmett Till situation all over again. You don't like what I said about Carmelo Anthony? I still think he got bullied. That's all that comes down to. As far as I'm concerned, I stayed strong. I'm gonna go about 5 minutes though. I got 5 more minutes. I stand by all the ones I said. I've never been 100 about the Tyson situation. I always thought that one was kind of odd. OJ's case, I stand by that because the timeline never added up. They talked about the melted ice cream. Do you know that she got a phone call at like 11:40? But he was already in Chicago, so he wasn't possibly there. You got to come up with a better one. Oh, I didn't do nothing to the volume. You can't hear me. I just have to adjust it. But he did defend himself. He did defend himself. He did defend himself. He defended himself. I probably have to call it a day because it only gives me 2 hours sometimes. Yeah, they don't want to hear what we talking about, because when you're dealing with people who think that don't really have they're trying not to have understanding about the injustice system. They don't want to hear what you got to say, and then you have a hard time trying to, I'm not plea bargaining. I've already, you know, spoke enough about it. No one's insulted nobody. We just see what we see. It's a matter of like respecting what people have gone through. We talk about police. We talk about the difference of the political standards, and that's a fact. You get us somebody black in the White House or in a position where they have been 34 times convicted and done all that, and see if they got approval rating and what they can do, and then we can talk. Because usually when someone black does something, they don't get the kind of opportunities Trump do. They don't get it. Yeah, and it really Carmelo's a kid. He's just Trayvon Martin, same age. And who's to say that that other kid wasn't Zimmerman? I see. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, but the thing about it is Carmelo's the same age as Trayvon Martin was. That's all. I've already said what I said. Tyson's situation seems like there was more going on with that. OJ's, none of it adds up. Timeline is off. and there was no marks on him. So you gotta give me something better to say that you what makes him think he's guilty. Plus two detectives messing and playing around in a car with blood and Mark Furman. I think you got to do better. That case never added up. And I know all about and and Nicole Brown Simpson, what she was involved in, and Faye Resnick too. So, oh yeah, easily. And the only reason why Sharon got caught is because they got it on video, and plus people were locked in at the time. If it wasn't for that, he would have gotten away. Because it ain't his first rodeo. And believe me, when they go with somebody black and they in that position, it's not their first rodeo. People don't want to hear the whole call facts. All right, I'm gonna get ready to roll it now, though. But appreciate everything. I will be back on Monday, taking tomorrow off, and so they were gonna do that. They were gonna do that. That was on the cards already. But I still think he can beat his case, though, if he gets a fair opportunity in Texas. We shall see. It's all over there, and that's what Musk keeps talking about. Because that's why it'll never be put out in light. But the Trumpicans ain't gonna want to hear it though. They'll deny it. They'll call it fake news. All right, I'm gonna get it roll now because I've been on for 2 plus. But I will be back on Monday, taking it tomorrow off. And I appreciate everybody in the words and conversations. Some interesting conversations. Thank you, Calvin, as always. DT, interesting conversation. Interesting. Yep. It's deeper than we think. It'll only come out in the book in 25 years. Watch. They'll tell the truth when no one will be around to care. That's what they always do. That's how the game they play. They give it to you in bits and pieces. All right. I'm out. Peace. Stay safe, stay blessed. I'm out.